Welcome to this new edition of the Talk of Paris. No one, of course, wants to believe in a new Cold War, but a dangerous crack occurred this summer in the Caucasus. The blitzkrieg between Georgia and Russia. Isn't it just a prelude to other conflicts? Our guest today is the Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, on the occasion of the General Assembly of the United Nations in New York, where the heads of state and of government of the world will meet. Welcome, Mr. Secretary General.
Hello.
With us today also from New York, our correspondent, Philippe Bolopion. So, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, does this crisis that we have witnessed this summer, is it the most important since the Cold War? Aren't we at a turning point? And can this tension lead to a new Cold War?
I don't even think about such a situation. As you know, the world has evolved since the end of the Cold War. We shouldn't too hastily derive conclusions from the recent events in Georgia. We shouldn't either oversimplify the recent events. I think we should work together in the world so as not to repeat what happened in the past.
Isn't there, however, a risk of deadlock at the Security Council, given this tension that we have seen this summer?
The Security Council have been taking their own role according to a Charter of the United Nations for maintenance of peace and stability of the international community. Sometimes they have made good discussions, sometimes they have not been able to agree on something like as we have seen these days, but we should not be overly pessimistic about this. Now, let us try to continue to resolve all the issues through a dialogue in a peaceful manner.
Mr. Secretary General, are you concerned that the UN might be held hostage of this crisis, somehow being pulled in opposite directions by two competing blocs?
It is very important that all the member states, particularly members of the Security Council, should engage in dialogue. Now, there have been many diplomatic initiatives by President Sarkozy, meeting with the President Medvedev of Russia, and European Union and Americans. They have also taken initiative. I myself have been engaged daily, almost daily, in contacting with the leaders of the world and particularly parties concerned to this situation in Georgia. United Nations will continue to play such a role facilitating a dialogue between the parties to resolve all the issues peacefully.
Mr. Secretary General, aren't you concerned by the multiplication of those declarations of independence? I'm talking about Abkhazia, Southern Ossetia, Kosovo. Isn't there a risk of balkanization of the globe?
The recognition or declaration of independence is something to be determined by the member states of the United Nations. As a Secretary General of the United Nations, I'm not in a position to comment on anything. What I have been doing and I will continue to do is to engage in dialogue with the concerned parties to promote the dialogue, to facilitate the dialogue as much as I can. I'm going to participate in the international conference which will be held in Geneva on October 15th to discuss the situation in Georgia. The situation in Georgia has much more implications and wider implications affecting the peace and security in the region. We must find out the harmonious resolution out of this. United Nations, through its mission, UNOMIC, during the last 15 years has been contributing for the stability and peace there. We will continue to do so.
But Mr. Secretary General, isn't the example of Kosovo quite typical? I mean, you have a de facto independence, yet the UN is still sort of legally bound by the Security Council to be present in Kosovo. You're sort of transferring the powers to the European Union. How can you get out of these contradictions there?
You should not overly simplify all the issues. You should not generalize all the situations. Every issue and every conflict has its own background. As far as Kosovo is concerned, United Nations has been administering during last over 10 years, and there was Security Council resolution and mandate, and United Nations has been administrating this issue. Now, within the mandate of the Security Council Resolution 1244, I have proposed my package to bring peace and stability in that region, considering the dynamics and inability of the Security Council to agree on any formula there.
Is it true that Moscow has been exerting huge pressure on you not to recognize or give the signal that you approve of the independence of Kosovo? Some people even say that they went as far as to threaten you with blocking a second mandate for you. Is this true?
The independence of Kosovo is again something to be determined by the member states. UN Secretary General and United Nations as such are not in a position to talk about the independence or recognition of any state. This is what I have made it quite clear at the time of declaration of independence by Kosovo.
So anyway, you wish to act as a mediator, you wish to be president, but don't you feel like going further and issue a kind of warning, an appeal to reason to avoid the multiplication of declaration of secession, independence in several parts of the world? Are you concerned by all this, and how are you going to react?
What I'm concerned is the wider political and security implications which the situation may bring to the region. That is why from the outset of this outbreak of this situation, I have been discussing this matter almost on a daily basis with all the leaders of the concerned parties, and I have made it quite clear from the beginning that the United Nations stands ready to provide all facilitating role. I have dispatched a humanitarian assistance team to South Ossetia. They will visit Gori and Tbilisi to gather first-hand observations how the situation there in terms of humanitarian assistance as well as human rights situations. I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm also going to engage in in-depth dialogue with the world leaders about the framework and modalities of international mechanisms to ensure peace and stability there.
Would you like to comment on the action of Europe, which was rather strong during the summer, noticeably with the President of the European Union, Nicolas Sarkozy? Have you been surprised by this dynamic, by this very quick reaction of Nicolas Sarkozy?
I appreciate President Sarkozy's very dynamic and active diplomatic initiative to bring peace and stability in the region. He is now acting as President of the European Union. This initiative has been widely appreciated. I have been again discussing this matter with the French government officials. I'm going to meet with President Sarkozy next week when he comes to New York to attend the General Assembly.
Well, what are you going to tell to President Sarkozy? Are you going to tell him, carry on, go ahead, regarding, go on being this kind of mediator between Russia and Georgia?
He's now the President of France. At the same time, he's the President of the European Union. He has a very heavy and historical responsibility to ensure peace and security in that region. He has made a good agreement on the peace and stability in Georgia through his meeting with President Medvedev, which is known as a 6-point peace plan. We must implement this 6-point peace plan, and the international conference, which is scheduled to take place on October 15 in Geneva, will provide a very important occasion. Before that, I'm going to convene permanent members of the Security Council, 5 members of P5 ministerial meeting in New York. I hope that we'll be able to again discuss all the detailed framework and modalities among the foreign ministers of P5 in New York, which will provide a good basis of discussions in Geneva.
Well, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, you are reaching practically the middle of your term at the head of the UN. I suggest, like the tradition of this broadcast, to look together the portrait summarizing your career, a portrait realized by Philippe Bolopion.
Ban Ki-moon is a man on the move. Since he took over in January 2007, the South Korean diplomat has been relentlessly crisscrossing the globe. At every international conference, he's on the front line in the fight against global warming. He's a spokesman for the poorest of the poor, as in Burma, where he convinced the military junta to open up to humanitarian aid in the wake of Cyclone Nargis. Born in 1944 into a family of farmers, he was exposed to poverty from a young age. A career diplomat in the Seoul Ministry of Foreign Affairs, he climbed all the way up to become foreign minister. Married with 3 children, Ban Ki-moon readily admits he has few outside interests. Since he succeeded Kofi Annan, the new UN Secretary-General has worked all hours. But now that he's almost halfway through his first term in office, the honeymoon period is definitely over. On the 7th of September, one of Spain's top newspaper, El País, ran this headline about him: "The Invisible Man." The article accuses him of being more secretary than general, unknown to the wider world, on the sidelines of all recent international crises. False responds Ban's closest advisers. Yes, his style is different, shying away from grandiose speeches, they say, but his work is best carried out behind the scenes, they insist. Underneath the affable exterior lies a steely determination. For example, they claim in private he doesn't hesitate to stand up to Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir in spite of his continued defiance of the UN. Invisible to some, discreet but efficient to others, history will be the judge.
Well, Mr. Secretary General, your reaction to this portrait. How did you react when you've seen this headline, The Invisible Man? Did you smile?
Well, I expect that my activities and performance should be closely examined, sometimes constructively criticized. I know that I cannot be totally free from such detractors or criticism. The particular article which you mentioned needs some rebuttals, but I think that this largely comes from the reporters missing a bigger picture which I have been engaged as Secretary General of the United Nations. My direct involvement and engagement with the leaders in the many parts of the world, beginning from Myanmar, Darfur situation, and Kenya, in Zimbabwe, and my own visit to Antarctica, that shows more than enough how much I am committed to resolve all global issues, all regional conflict issues, all developmental issues. I am committed than any other persons in the United Nations and in the world. Now, there may be some difference of styles in diplomacy. Different circumstances require a different style of leadership. When it is necessary, you may engage in direct and even confrontational public diplomacy, while sometimes it is necessary and much more effective to engage in behind the scene. Even I may be criticized as an invisible man, then I will continue to do, according to on my own experience, I have been engaged in this diplomatic experience during last almost 4 decades. I have made many big progresses through my tete-a-tete meetings, through this invisible behind the scenes. If you look at the history, you will see many such diplomatic achievement through behind the scene diplomacy. So you should not see or judge from one criteria. One's performance will be judged by historians after one's retirement from the post. I'm open to any constructive criticism, constructive suggestions. At the same time, I need support and encouragement from member state. Whatever I do should be encouraged in a positive way. This is what I can do. And as far as UN reform is concerned, you will see there have been much difference in working styles, working cultures, and administrations. Reform has made great progress to make this organization much more effective, efficient, transparent, and accountable, and much more mobile. This is my commitment, and I'm going to continue my job as Secretary General.
We're getting to the end of the first leg of this broadcast. Let's take a break to watch the news of France 24, and we'll meet in a few minutes.